Okay, welcome. We are so excited, thrilled that so many have joined us. This is indeed the DTG Days, a celebration of technology. And some would say it's been 29 years, others are saying 25. We've got some folks on the fringes saying 19 years. I don't know how many years it's going to be or how many years it has been. But we're going to try to dig in on that just a little bit because this is a groundbreaking webinar. I promise you that we will illuminate all of you with this remarkable journey. And it has been indeed an incredible impact when you think about direct to garment printing and the impact and the markets made on the apparel decoration world. This event was created for apparel decorators, business owners, entrepreneurs, anybody connected with the branding merch universe. You should be here. And if you're passionate about this technology, you're in store for a good ride. I promise you that. So this session is DTG Days. I hope that this takes off. I can't wait to have this webinar and all of our guests join us and listening to some of where we were, where we're headed, and so on and so forth. So this is our chance, Terry. We get to celebrate the past, the present, and the future as it relates to DTG printing technology. I don't know. Are you a little fired up, Terry, or is it just me?
Jay, I am, and also for anybody out there who is interested in garment decorating history, who would have thought that we're gonna, in the short life of DTG printing, would be talking about the history. were you there? Are you a veteran? You can, hey, at last somebody can be a veteran of the industry and only been here for 18, 19 years.
I love it. I love it. Well, for everybody that's tuned in and for anyone that's going to watch this later, Terry and I will be your moderators. We will be the guides to guide you through this. I don't know if I should call it evolution or maybe revolution, huh? Matt, maybe we'll get to that. We'll get to that. The evolution of this DTG inkjet technology. And I know everybody's in store for something that's truly fascinating. The journey has been amazing, everything surrounding this technology. And so I'm sure there were some folks that were there in the early days that aren't here in a way we miss them, and others that couldn't make it today. So don't feel that we didn't shine the light on everybody. That this is going to be fun, informative. And I know I'm ready, Terry, but if you're ready, let's take that deep dive into the DTG printing pool. Our direct to garment friends have joined us. This is a special event. And guess what? Our first guest is already here. It's the one and only Matthew Rome from Epson. Matt, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, not much. First, I wanted to thank you and Equipment Zone for inviting me to this event. This is great. I hope that we do this at least every year.
Oh, that's a fabulous idea. We need to mark this down. We'll do this every fall. Talk about what past stories, because we're not going to have time for all the stories, trust me. But we can also focus on the present. We can also kind of look to the future, which is really what we're going to do here today. So, Matt, for sure. And you know what? We could not have started this without having you. Let's be real, Terry. Is that even possible to have this discussion without Matt Rome?
Well, exactly. There was a patent many years ago talking about DTG printing, and Matt Rome is the guy whose name was on the bottom of that patent. So
that is 100% true. And in fact, you don't know this, Terry, but Matt and I came prepared today. We decided that it would be fun to show a few folks what that looks like. So I'm going to advance a few slides to kick us off. And then Terry, don't forget, you've got the first question. So, we're going to get into this specific with Mr. Rome here soon. So, but again, thank you for joining us. A celebration of technology. Today's the day. I love Matt's idea. We're definitely going to have to plan now for next year. But check this out, Terry. Look at that.
Huh? That is a great picture.
You recognize the guy on the left?
I do recognize that guy.
I love this. And I'm surprised.
It's only 2 months old.
Right.
I'm surprising Matt. Matt didn't know I had this picture on the right. I've been saving it for about a year now. That was our graffiti wall last year at the Printing United show in Las Vegas. And Matt was gracious enough to come over and pose for me. I want you to know he did hit that wall with some spray can, Terry. He was pretty familiar.
I saw that. So Matt, let's go back to the beginning. When did you first start working on this whole concept of DTG Inkjet Technology, and what led you to that point? What made you think, hey, here's a good idea?
Yeah, well, the whole thing, it was more of like a evolution. I'd been a screen printer since I was 14. I had a software company that did software for screen printers, and it was just an evolution. I was thinking about it in the mid 90s. I developed a machine that basically what you call a hybrid machine now. It was DTG and screen printing. But back then, in mid 90s dollars, it was over $2 million. And I didn't really think I could. I had a couple people interested, but nobody bid. So one day I was out jet skiing in the Gulf of Mexico, and I was like, maybe I should just make a low cost single platen machine. So I came home and started working on it, and the rest is history. I patented it in 1996. I had it at the first SGIA show. It was the first time we showed it. That was in 96 also. And yeah, there you go. It was called the Revolution. You know why it was called the Revolution? Because everybody was like, wow, this is revolutionary. This is great. You're going to cause a big ruckus. And
I love it.
Behold,
no, when Matt said, Matt, when you said this to me, I was like, oh my God, I love this. No screens, no film, no mess, no press, no joke, Terry.
In 1996. Okay, now let's pause for a few years and then.
Yeah.
How cool is that? I mean,
but I think Matt, I think you planted a lot of seeds in people's minds.
Yeah,
walking around that show.
Yeah, and Terry, I know you were there because you've been to every decorated show since like 1970.
This century, towards the end of the last century. Yeah, I've been
for 2 millennia.
One or two.
Oh, this is so fun, you guys. Sorry, I don't want to get carried away, but Matt, I can't wait to ask you this question. I already know the answer, and in fact, I know it because you shared with me something that was super cool. So I'm going to share that on my screen right here. But Matt, tell us a little bit about getting the patent. When did you apply for it? When did you say, you know what, I better patent this? This is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, well, I was blessed that I had two really good partners in my business that started to develop this printer, Karen Sip and Andrew Romines. They were great people, and we put a whole big staff together, started working on the Revolution printer after I had applied for the patent. I just knew that was what we needed to do, so I applied for the patent. Of course, as you see, 96, but it didn't get issued until 2000. It took a while to get through. And like I said, it was something that we had to do to make sure that we had protected ourselves with our technology.
I think it's so cool. An apparatus for ink printing and pre-programmed viewable indicia onto a substrate. I mean, talk about getting the real deal here. I mean, patent number 6,095,628. Is that something you have on your window or on your car or in your office there?
No, I have it tattooed. It's tattooed on my body somewhere. I'm not going to show you.
Please, please don't. Please.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you do.
I love it.
You have to nowadays.
So Matt, being somebody coming up with an innovative idea that nobody's done before, what kind of challenges did you have in the very beginning to make this thing happen?
It was very difficult because trying to do it on your own was very hard. I mean, we were a small company. We'd raised quite a bit of money, but we still could not get to the next level. Of course, we did have a machine out there and it did function, it worked, but we just couldn't get to the next level. That's why eventually I had to have partnership with some bigger guys. And, it's kind of like the DTF market is today. A lot of guys are trying to hack machines and put them together and do things like this. But to get to the next level, you have to have a large company that has resources behind it, printhead technology, ink technology. So to answer your question, it was really hard. We worked a lot of long hours. We skimped by, ate a lot of ramen noodles, and we finally, made it happen.
Oh, what a great story. Matt, I'm sure there were some challenging days, but I mean, I just want to tip my cap to you earlier because, think about it. You probably don't very much because I know you're a pretty humble guy, but
Yeah, I'm humble.
those first well, you try your best to remain humble, but those first days, I mean, they matter. And this you get to see, the fast forward to today, what an impact this has made on literally thousands and thousands of people's lives. So that's got to
Well,
be both cool and a little weird.
it is. Well, Jay, that's one of the things that's most important to me about this product is I started out, I wanted something that was more green technology. And remember, even back in the early 90s, screen printing was pretty nasty. There was a lot of bad chemicals, a lot of bad cleanup chemicals, a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
nasty spray tack. So I wanted something to be more green. And now in my later years, I realized that what I should be most proud and happy about is look at all the people that DTG employs, and they're able to use the money that they've made off either their salaries or selling shirts or what have you to do great things like, pay the mortgage on their house or put their kids through school, put food on their table. And, that's what I'm most proud of.
Well, you
Well,
should be.
Jay and I are two of those people that make our living from DTG. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
and don't what Matt's going to ask you? He's going to say, "Don't forget the Christmas card with a little something something." Well, joking aside, Mr. Rome, Matt, I do really want to ask you this though. In the early days, you were a screen printer, and so as were a lot of us, right? In those early
Mm-hmm.
days, did you ever think DTG printing was going to maybe replace screen printing? Because I know there were people that
No.
thought that. You weren't one of those? Okay.
No, I never did. To me, it's just another tool in the box. Not every technology, there's no one technology that's going to solve every problem,
Good
so
point.
it's another tool in the toolbox.
I
But
love
it's there
that.
to solve those short run problems that screen printers,
Exactly.
myself included as well, that had to deal with. So Matt, share some of the highs and lows of being a DTG pioneer in those early days.
Well, the biggest thing was, once we came out with the machine was, people were wanting to copy it and basically come out with their own product. And, in the early days, as you know, Terry, there was a lot of guys that were like, wow, we can make some money off this. We'll hack a machine, make a lower cost, and we'll just get out there and sell it. And it was very detrimental to the industry. I think that put the industry back about 5 years. So combating that was my biggest I would say down of the whole process, was having to deal with things like that. Don't have as much as that today as we did in the old days, but that was one of my biggest concerns because, like I said before, one of the reasons I had to go company was to get them to take the technology to the next level. And it takes a big company to do that. It's very difficult to do that on your own.
Matt, I think we're seeing that to a certain extent with DTF. We were, Jay, and I saw you at the sign show in Vegas, and there were companies coming out of the woodwork with their own machines, companies you'd never heard of before, and so that'll level out over a year or two, I'm sure. But coming up on the Printing United, I'm sure that we're going to see lots of companies that none of us have ever heard of before with their brand new DTF technology.
Never before seen. Yeah, we'll see them there. We'll be trying to interpret because I don't know Korean and I don't know Mandarin. So, but between those two, I guarantee you we're going to see a few new ones. Matt, we do have a great question before we let you go. I know there were a lot of highs too, so I do want to ask you about that. But Marshall had the same question I had, which was, what was the max imprint resolution of that first revolution? What was the highest DPI you could hit?
Believe it or not, it was 600 DPI. And even though it was only four color process, right? We had white ink, but we didn't trust it at that point because it would kill a print head after 2 days. We didn't have the technology we do today. So we only had CMYK, but believe it or not, it was just as fast as some of the CMYK machines that came out 10 years later. Oh, yeah. It was really ahead of its time. And it was a great printer. Matter of fact, a friend of mine has printer number 2 right now.
Really?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's still cranking today, Terry.
No, actually not. It's still not cranking. You can't get print heads for it anymore.
I was this close. Well, Matt, before we let you go, is there any high moment you could share with us? Any moment of exhilaration, something that the audience would love to know about this beginning, the revolution, the start of this inkjet technology, and what a shift it's made in our industry? Anything you want to leave us with? Words of wisdom.
Yeah, I think that it's made a major impact. You know, my biggest thing, like I said, is it's a green technology. And that's one of the things that I'm really happy about. Of course, now everybody's on the green bandwagon and all this stuff, you know, but I had thought about this before and it's really changed our industry. And I think because of DTG, it has made even screen printing greener. And that's great, you know, because we needed to get some of those products out of the market for screen printing. And I think DTG's helped that. And, you know, it's just a more environmentally friendly, safer, easier, you know, product.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being the Terry and I have an inside joke. I hope this isn't upsetting or offensive, but we do refer to you as the godfather of DTG. So
that's right. One day I'll come and ask you for a favor.
He's going to ask us to help him move or to kill a man. I don't know.
You never know.
Nope. He's just going to need us to move a few boxes. But listen, Matt Rome from Epson. Matt, you really did kick off quite the revolution, and we're so grateful for your time. So thankful for you joining us and sharing those great photos and the actual patent. I was so thrilled when I got to see that. But listen, we couldn't have started this without you. So you're welcome to join and sit in and listen if you can. But we're going to let you go because we've got some more guests to bring up to the stage.
Thank you, Jay.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
My pleasure. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
You know, Jay, I was thinking while Matt was talking, you know, all of us being screen printers, I don't want to say former because I have a screen printing class this weekend, but I remember thinking how surprised I was when screen printers would see this technology and go, say it ain't so. Yeah. Like the screen printers believed it was going to replace what they do. And I'm like, no, look at what this is going to do for you. Every family reunion with 17 people and a 2.4 and a 4X. This is the answer that we as screen printers have been looking for. But it took about a year after first doing trade show circuit for screen printers to say, I didn't know how many orders I had been turning down until I saw this technology. So
yeah. No, I was one of those folks in the early days. I was excited about it. I didn't think it was going to replace it, but I felt like this is going to be awesome. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm in store for, but this solves a lot of problems. I think that's the angle that you saw it from. How many problems does this solve?
Exactly.
How many, you know, how can we build on this? But still, it was new. It was messy. It was sloppy. It wasn't consistent. Let's be real. There were some bumps in those roads. There were some speed bumps in the roads. But how fun was that, Terry? Did you get a kick out of that, seeing those old photos too?
Absolutely, especially the old photos. That was awesome. Kind of took me back seeing that little brochure, you know, to the early trade shows that I used to go to. So,
did you know it was called the Revolution?
I did, but I had long
Yeah.
forgotten. Years ago, as soon as he said it, I'm like, oh, that's right. I do remember that.
That's so great. Well, listen, it's been fun, but we got more guests, so we are going to bring up to the stage. This won't be awkward at all for us, right? Because we're gonna welcome in the president of Equipment Zone, our boss, Harry Oster.
The guy who signs your paychecks.
That's him.
Nice.
That's him.
Exactly.
So
So,
we
Jay,
Well,
I'm
I
not going to
actually
ask
don't
question
sign
number
them,
3
but
here. No.
Terry was editing furiously this morning. No, we can't ask him that.
Can't ask that question.
Harry, we're grateful that you took some time and were able to join us. And truth be told, I feel the same way. I don't think we could have this conversation without you. So I just want to say, obviously, we're grateful that you saw this vision early and that you had some highs, had some lows, but we're still here today, better than ever, and that we have this opportunity with you today. So let me ask, Harry, if you could go back. I mean, when did you first see this technology, the inkjet technology or a DTG printer? When did you remember? You don't have to have an exact date, but maybe you do. So when do you remember going back and seeing that? What was your reaction?
what I tell customers all the time is never be afraid of changing direction of your company. So we at the time were Terry remembers this, the largest used refurbisher of screen printing equipment in the country. Okay, we had a huge building. We had a automotive type spray booth. We bought equipment, automatic machines, dryers, and like that, and did pretty well with it. Okay. At one point, I was at a trade. Somebody called me. It was a company we were buying screen printing videos from, and they went, "Hey, we have this new machine, an inkjet printer for T-shirts." So, yeah, sure. Hey, would you like to try it out? Yeah, sure. Send it over. All right. So we tried it out. To make a long story short, we took it on. After a while, I saw where this was going. All right. And we totally got out of the screen printing equipment end. I mean, really flipped the direction of the company.
Wow. So that funny little company that was doing screen printing videos, were they in the desert, perhaps? Maybe?
Yes.
Terry, you wouldn't have had anything to do with that, would you, Terry?
I might very well have been working there at that same company here in Phoenix, Arizona, Tempe, Arizona. So Harry, you went all in.
Yeah.
And for anybody who doesn't know, the T-Jet, which was the product that was being built here by U.S. Screen in Tempe, Arizona, you became the largest reseller of that machine, not just in the U.S., but in the entire world. Exactly right. Because we had dealers all over the world. And Harry, that's where you and I met, because I was a dealer rep for U.S. Screen, and not your rep right away, eventually. but what made you think Inkjet Technology would be a viable business? I'm going to turn everything upside down and change my direction. What made you think and believe that was going to happen?
Well, especially knowing screen printing and the process and everything, I could see where it would go. Okay, at the time it was a 4-color. There was no white ink. Possibly the promise of white ink down the road. Okay. Nobody knew anything about it. Okay. Nobody knew how to repair them. And these were at the time just Epson paper printers that were basically converted to do it. The ink was all wrong. Okay. Clogged the print heads and like that. And we had to come up with a lot of solutions at the time. Thank God for my staff and everybody. And it started catching on. And then the white ink came in, which caused, God knows, Terry remembers how many more issues. All right. Persevered. That company went out of business. Okay. We started making our own machines. Same thing. Basically hacked Epson paper printers. Okay. Came up with our own solutions. Because they went out of business, we happened to pick up a certain Mr. Combs.
Right. And a few other people, a few other tech folks as well.
Quite a few other people, but Terry was my best hire.
Well, I appreciate that.
And then we started to grow. Now, Epson, we were dealing with Epson paper printers and the print heads and all that. Eventually, Epson came into the field. Okay. And this was about 10 years ago. All right. And actually, September 2013, because I looked it up, we went to a Chicago show, a trade show, where Epson introduced the F2000. And we were invited to be a dealer for them. And like we like to do, we took it on. And I don't think anyone at Epson will disagree with me. We are now their largest seller within the United States.
And possibly the world. Exactly right.
Well, yes.
let's not put our arms, dislocate those arms as we pat ourselves on the back here. But there could be some truth to that.
A lot of work and a lot of development and a lot of working with Epson over the years as well to improve on the product.
And let's look at the direction of the machines. They've gotten better and better and more reliable. Okay. And, where we're going from here with DTF and the other things really makes me excited.
Looks like you may have said something that triggered Matt Rome. He just jumped back in. Matt, was there something you wanted to say? Is there?
No, I'm good. I just finished my phone call, so I came back.
Oh. For anybody who doesn't know, Matt is generally on a phone call.
True enough.
Well, that's great. Okay, I thought you might have something to say there, Matt. But sorry, I didn't mean to put the spotlight back on you. But back to Harry. Harry, you were talking about this inkjet technology and how you thought it would be a viable business, which clearly it has been. But I'm curious, were you also? This is one of the questions I'm asking everybody. Did you think it was gonna be a big change, like it was going to replace screen printing?
No, I think like Matt had said earlier. Okay. We tell our customers, there's different processes and pick the right one for what you're doing. Each job is going to be different. If you're printing 10 or 20,000 shirts, the same design, I think Terry will agree with me, screen printed. Okay. We're not going to tell you different. The question, of course, becomes, is your average order 10 or 20,000? And as time has gone on, the orders have gotten smaller and smaller. And you notice I mentioned single design. Most orders now are multiple different designs, even if you're doing several thousand, in which case, we recommend direct to garment. Okay. But no, I don't believe it'll replace screen printing. Okay. Maybe sometime down the road where we're doing, and it's certainly possible, 1,000 an hour direct to garment. And that could be a direction the industry is heading. Certainly not tomorrow, but down the road. Then we could have a different discussion. But for now, I think screen printing is pretty solid, pretty much on the higher volume. I still think on the lower volume, and when I say lower volume, I don't mean 10 or 20, 100, 200, 500. I would direct a screen, especially if it's multicolor. Direct to garment, excuse me.
And Harry has history as well as a screen printer. Back to the days of hanging shirts on your mom's clothesline to let them air dry.
Well, when I started screen printing, okay, it was a girlfriend of mine in high school. Okay, that long ago, about 15 years ago. So
right.
All right. We knew nothing about it. She had taken silkscreen in high school. All right. So we found a screen printer who made the screens for us. We knew nothing about plastisol ink, okay, at the time, or water-based ink. We picked up sign ink, okay, and we made a homemade press. We printed the shirts, and thank God for my parents. They had a huge yard in the back, and we actually laid the shirts out to dry in the sun. Okay.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. So our first order was for a Holiday Inn chain. Okay. And our backyard was a sea of yellow. t-shirts, and it was fun.
We all have origins out there somewhere like
Yep.
that, and it's good to hear those stories. But so Harry, early on you mentioned white ink. What kind of common pre-treat processes do you recall from the early days of DTG printing?
Well, I guess we could go back to the paint store and pick up some brushes, because everybody was brushing them on. Okay.
Right.
Worst idea ever. And all right. But we evolved. I mean, I know there are people out there, some dealers still telling people to brush on the pre-treat,
Right.
or roll it on is another way of doing it.
Ooh, they went from paint brushes to rollers. That's a big step. That's a big evolution.
So the company were, US Screen, when we were selling their printers, they came out with a automatic pre-treat machine, okay, which always clogged. And that was actually our first machine that we made for the market. We came out with our own automatic pre-treater. And we started out rudimentary. We went to Home Depot, picked up a garage door opener, okay? And the mechanism for bringing the platen into the machine as it was spraying was the automatic garage door opener. And we became a pretty big buyer of Genie garage door openers after a while. Okay.
I did
And
not know that. That is hilarious.
we were selling a ton of them. Well, we
Yeah.
still are. We've evolved from there.
Sure.
That's how you start.
Amazing. Amazing. I've not heard you tell that story, Harry. I'm glad you shared that with us today. I know Terry knows it. I could tell by his reaction, but wow.
Well, the great thing about those garage door openers was if you held on to the remote control, you can really freak people out by opening and closing the drawer as they walk by. And it was a 3-day long experience at FUSPA in Munich, where we were. No, it was in Berlin. That everybody would take turns using the garage door opener automatic garage door opener button to freak people out as they're standing next to the machine. But that's an aside.
Hey, Terry, do you remember, did you guys have a name for that first pre-treatment machine that you guys had?
I think at the time we called it Speed Treater.
Well, no, I know.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if US Screen Print and Inkjet Technology had
US
some.
Screen had it. I forgot what their name was.
Yeah, I don't recall that either, to be perfectly honest. It was a short-lived
bucket of bolts.
Well,
no, I'm not here to just make fun. I think it's really, really interesting to hear how, everybody was taking risks. Everybody was an entrepreneur. Everybody was trying to figure this out. And, Harry, tip of the cap to you. You were quick to figure out how to automate the process, recognizing that speed was going to make an impact in production. And that if you could, house it in such a way that it would also be less messy, because I remember some of the first ones I've seen. Terry knows this because at the time I was US Screen Print and Inkjet Technology was across the parking lot from us in Tempe here in Arizona. And we used to walk over during lunch after Munchamania, and we would say, "What are you guys up to?" And they'd show us this. I mean, it was Frankenstein's world, man. It was like parts and pieces and wires and tubes and ink and stuff. And I was like, what is going on over here?
Pre-treat on the floor.
Puddles of all kinds. And you're like, oh, I don't want to step in this stuff. What is it? But it was, but those were the early days. And it was necessary to go through that to be able to come out on the other side with
yeah, I mean, what we need to understand is nobody knew anything back then. Nobody really knew how to repair the machines. Okay. I know US Screen, they had a sheet metal worker who became the head technician. We were lucky with our screen printing equipment background to have people who kind of figured it out on their own. Okay, so we were able to keep the machines fixed. I mean, I've got one story. We sent somebody down, one of our techs down to fix a US Screen machine in Florida. We flew him down from New Jersey. And couldn't figure out. We had a relationship with a Epson repair shop in Long Island, New York. So I called the guy up and said, "Here's the fault code or whatever." And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, we had that. Yeah, we." So, oh, terrific. How did you fix it? Well, we just kept changing boards, circuit boards until we fixed it. Thank you very much.
That sounds like a very inexpensive option.
Yes. But, we learned, and I think we've come pretty far from those days.
Yeah,
we have indeed. So last question, Harry, did you as you're thinking about this, is there anything in preparation for this, or as you kind of go back memory lane, is there anything about the inkjet technology, that you were like, okay, now that we're past that and we're here today, like what's new that you're excited about? What's something that you're like looking forward to on the horizon? Maybe is there anything in the technology today or looking forward that you're excited about?
Well, DTF has definitely had a major impact. Okay. The fact that we can do it on a DTG machine, is really eye-opening. All right. There's a lot of different things that are coming up. Some of the things we're developing that unfortunately I'm not going to speak about right now. All right. But
it's just us. Go ahead.
just between us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to have a semi-automatic powdering machine, which will hopefully be introducing at Printing United, and that's definitely going to help when it comes to using the DTG printer as a DTF printer also. But hats off with our relationship to Epson. Okay, they really can't say enough about them. All right, and the fact that we've become their largest dealer in the country says as much about Epson as it does about us. That they have a product that we like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's been an awesome working relationship. So,
and of course, needless to say, the people I have working for me, are the major contributors to the success of the company and success of the process.
Well, awesome.
We agree.
I mean you too, Jay.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I know there are days, but let's focus on today. Today's a great day. But thank you, Harry. That's been really, really fun. It's been eye-opening. We appreciate that you were able to join us. It's been fun to know that you were there in those early days, truly a pioneer of this technology. It's made a huge impact on the lives of thousands of people. I mean, there are both of you, to Matt's still on screen for me. I don't know if everyone can see him, but to both of you, if you think about the families that have made their livelihood doing this and the opportunities and the doors that it's opened for them, it's impressive and it's humbling. So to me, we're grateful that you're here, and every day is a fun day at Equipment Zone, right, Terry? We chant that in our morning sales meetings.
We don't do the chant, Jay, but yeah, I think we have a pretty good time.
We do.
Well, let's face it, how many bedrooms, how many basements, how many living room and dining rooms, have startup businesses with DTG.
Exactly right. That have grown, and many of them, hey, I'm happy with it the way it is, but some have grown into major garment decorators, and it all started with a phone call with us at Equipment Zone or one of the other distributors out there.
But again, it's my people. That's who makes it happen.
Love it. We agree. Thank you, Harry. It's been fun.
And Terry and Jay, don't forget to send me the payment for that comment.
Next time we're in New Jersey, lunch is on Terry.
Okay.
There you go.
Oakland, let's be there.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks,
wow,
Harry.
That was fun. Terry, right? I mean, the early days thinking about pre-treater machines, and I had no idea it was a Genie garage door opener. It's amazing.
And that story about Berlin, totally true. It was with the U.S. screen one, but Bill Strange, one of our sales reps, is the only one who didn't know that we had the remote control for it.
Oh, so you guys were torturing him.
Every time he would show it to somebody, we'd just open the drawer in front of him, and then he'd like reach for it and we'd close it. It was quite entertaining.
That's crazy. Well, it's fun to have Harry join us. I know he was very gracious with his time, and those stories are so fun to hear. And thinking about, again, the development of the inkjet technology, and like I love what he said. Nobody knew anything. It was like this wild, wild west of discovery, and with chemistry and the ink technology. The introduction of white ink. Oh my God, I remember that. That was, everybody was cursing those days.
And Jay, before figuring out how to apply pre-treat, it was figuring out that we needed pre-treat, you know? So.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were like I remember going over to watch. I don't know if it was you or Wade. It was probably Wade. He was pretty excited about it, saying, "Hey, look at this, look at this." You know how he always gets excited. It was, and I saw white ink coming through that jet, and I was like, "Damn, that's possible." He goes, "Yeah, it's good for about 24 hours." And I was like, "Wait, what? You mean the shirt? The shirt will only last." And he goes, "No, the print head, it's gonna die tomorrow." I was like, "Okay, if you say so." But wow, some early days. Well, guess what? We've got another guest ready to join. This is not the end of the ride. We've got more great talent and people who have made a huge impact on the industry. I refer to him as my friend and genius. Don't take that the wrong way, Matt Rome, but Timothy Check. Tim Check is here. Tim is from Epson. And Tim, thank you for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you. Tell us before we go too far into it, what do you do for Epson? What is give the audience a little bit of taste of what your role is?
Behind the scenes, I'm just Matt tells me what to do, and I just take care of that, and I claim credit for it. And I appreciate that comment of genius, but that's all because of Matt.
Well, all roads, all of these DTG roads somehow lead back to Matt. So, but no, seriously, we have as we've gotten to know you over the years, you've been instrumental in helping us, helping our audience, helping our customers. And you're always got that little genius spark in your eye, like, wait till I show you this. And I so appreciate that about you. It's been fun, but your role at Epson is you're in charge of some pretty important projects, right?
Yeah, so a cover of industrial textile products, so product management for it. So great thing I love about it is, man, coming from an engineering background and getting hands-on with a lot of the products, it's like a kid in a candy store. We got a lot of toys, and I'm gonna be honest, my first foray getting into DTG probably goes back to about 2012. Where my predecessor Larry, who was working with talking with Harry, had some preliminary equipment before we even launched that. And I remember seeing one of the blue speed treaters. That was my first experience. So I mean, I think hats off to Harry. It's kind of really the Equipment Zone products are what I got started with, playing around with it, and then with the Epson technology. So it was pretty cool. But we get to see a lot of new products, but also hear a lot of what customers are doing, whether it's dye sub, DTG, the new DT film, but sometimes some other technologies as well. So keeps me on my toes.
Awesome. Well, I was going to ask you about when you got started, but instead I'm going to say, hey, thanks for having Jay and I out a couple of months ago, and and maybe letting us peek under the black curtain for the future, and showing us all the technology from the past, the early days of Epson doing timing machines and things like that. Taking a tour of that new facility was incredible.
Yeah, there's a long history that's the company's got there, and it seems sometimes people think Epson, other than like little projectors or the small home printers, there's a lot of other facets that are there that all got started because of a need. And the company's been doing it for years. And textile, Epson's been involved since about 2000 in digital textile printing. Now it's big roll-to-roll fabric machines in Italy, but that technologies, we've kind of refined it, bring it down more compact and more size-wise. And then recently, with since about 2012, we kind of internally, but 2013, as Harry's mentioning, is where we brought out our first, the F2000, was really taking everything that's out there, all the technology we've had, but also a lot of the feedback from, the converted paper printers. People make them work, but man, a lot of headaches, and trying to solve this to make it a better place for everybody to actually enjoy doing DT printing.
Tim, there had to be a sea of people saying, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And Epson,
well, I will tell you this, at Equipment Zone, when we were in one of the first 6 resellers that were invited to carry the machine, we very quickly pushed the machine that we were building off to the side and said, okay, we're all in on Epson.
It's been fun. So you guys have been a great partner on shaping where our products are going to as well. So The feedback always hearing, there's got to be a better way, even as things get better. We've just, the issues aren't big, we can't do this, but it'd be nice if we could do things. That feedback is, we love that. And that's what we've been focused on, not to but when we went from the F2000 to the F2100, I want to say there's some new additions and new features to it, but most of that, probably about 80% of the improvements to that printer were all about feedback that customers gave us, that how do you make it work a little better? And that's what we put into it. And our latest, and I'm not trying to plug products, but the latest feedback that we have on the new 3rd generation printer, the new F22, that's truly is. It's all based on a lot of the feedback. We're taking some of our higher end technology, scaling that down, but then also taking a lot of the feedback, the challenges that people have or areas that we could improve it. It's got to be a better way. We want to keep building a better way. And in the future, people are self-driving cars and things like that. There's probably going to be a different way, but a
self-driving
it's an
DTG.
adventure, I guess.
I just heard Tim say a self-driving DTG printer is on its way.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Listen. First of all, thank you for bringing up a keyword, feedback. And you're right. We give you probably more than you want, and you're very gracious and patient with us. But the reality is we're getting that feedback from thousands of our customers, and I do say thousands. And there are thousands of F2000 owners out there, F2000 owners out there. And one just popped into the chat saying, still kicking, got it in the mobile unit. I store it over winter and it fires up every spring, 0 issues. I mean, that was unasked for. That was unsolicited. That was like just out of nowhere. I don't know that I know Steve personally, but thank you, Steve. I love it.
By the way, the next question, Jay, was, are you going to be at Printing United? And we will be. Equipment Zone will be in booth 5412. So love to see you there.
Yeah. So I have a slide at the end that has both Epson's booth and our booth in it, so you can come see us. But I wanted to shift the question just a little bit to you, Tim, and say, feedback's important. Getting comfortable with these printers in the beginning. Let's go back to that first F2000. What were some of those main challenges? Were there, in the beginning, what were you guys really wrestling with? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that if you could.
Well, I don't want to take up, the rest of your day. So I'll try to kind of sum it up.
In 2 minutes or less.
Those who know me know I can just keep going here. But, when the F2000 came out, I think as kind of mentioned, a lot of the products that were on the market prior to that there's got to be a better way. And that machine did a fantastic job of giving consistency, reliability. One of the things that we did bump into, though, is, the printer, you could store it away, you could turn it off, come back a month later, and the printer is just going to run. But there's still, as users needed to maintain that printer. And we know some of the customers that I visited, man, that printer is like spotless. I couldn't tell the difference between a brand new one that we're just shipping and one that they've been running for years. They're identical. They look fantastic. Not everybody maintains the printers. And so one of the catches to the original F2000 is if you weren't up on, once a week, spending some time, at the end of the Friday of the last day of the shift, kind of doing some cleaning, take 10, 15 minutes or so, you could run into some problems. And that would kind of perpetuate and cause all sorts of other issues that would go down rapidly after that. We came up with the F2100. One of that bits of feedback was, it's one thing the shop owner was doing it, but someone wanted to make a quick print over, at the end of the day, they wanted to make a shirt for the weekend. They'd use the printer, but they'd never do the cleaning. And that's how some of these issues would happen, where you could come up with some clogged heads, or some of the ink systems, the maintenance system would get troublesome. The F2100, we said, you know what, we think we could help with this by having the printer do the maintenance for you automatically. And so with that, we put in an inline maintenance cartridge that would actually jet maintenance liquid down and resolve that. And that was a huge improvement in terms of just keeping these machines just running day in and day out. It's not that people have, bad intention. It's just, life happens, and, oh, did I clean it or not? And the printer's going to take care of it and make sure it's okay. And that was a big improvement just for the long-term reliability. And the machine is still a rock solid machine today. As we keep going, some of the other things that we've heard, and just to kind of keep going where we're out, now we're on the 3rd gen. You get spots where you're going from a t-shirt to a big hoodie to, you're putting some film in there. DT film didn't exist. Really, nobody was talking about it when we launched some of these early products. There's some challenges with the powders and the pieces. I know the equipment you have for film is pretty rock solid. You know, it deals with a lot of those issues, but people that are pouring powder out in the open, it's just floating around. That stuff goes into electronics on a computer. It could short circuit, it melts and short circuits your power supply. And we saw that happen on some F2100s where people were putting powder right onto the prints as it came out of the printer.
Tim, we did not, and I emphasize not tell them to do that.
I appreciate that. And again, it's convenience because you got a nice table there that the film's on with the printers moving it. But the printer has all these like ink mist filters and air filtration to keep fibers and lint from getting to the head, but it would pull in that powder right into the printer, and then you end up with all these problems. So the new generation printer that we just came out with doesn't have any. It's all uses passive cooling and basically eliminates any of the airflow in. But it actually is optimized. There's a mode in there. It's optimized for printing, not just changing the ink layers for being able to do film, but it actually optimizes the print quality, knowing that on film, it's a little bit different appearance. You don't have the texture of the garment. And so we can have smoother, more vibrant color, be able to do things. But most importantly is we can get color to be consistent from printing onto a t-shirt directly to the t-shirt, or doing a film transfer. You can get consistent results. So you're not going, well, how come all of a sudden the reds are orange? That goes away. Other parts are in there, just knowing that, you know, one of the things is people start, you know, doing more than printing a one-off shirt, but trying to do some short runs to complement their screen print gear. You change the shirt out and all of a sudden you hit the go button or print button, and all of a sudden, you know, you come back and the printer's sitting there idle because, oh, the platen height error, the garment had a wrinkle in it. And you just sat there and you just wasted a few minutes that you could have been printing. The new printers deal with a lot of that by automatically adjusting the whole entire print carriage moves around. So that way that if you have, you know, if you got a big error, you wouldn't want to print anyways, you know, big giant wrinkle, you'd probably cover up some of the area where you do want to ink the shirt.
Right.
But with that in there, it helps do that. A lot of those features, all based on really just hearing what customers are doing and how they're using it, and some of the headaches and areas that we can make this stuff better. That's what we're really trying to, that becomes a main part of all of our product launches.
It's brilliant.
I remember you telling me about people putting on the adhesive powder on the platen, and I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. But, you know, if people can find an opportunity to to test the ability of the printer to operate, they will do that. But so you mentioned the 2270. What else is new with the 2270? It is shipping now, if anybody's wondering about that. A little bit new with the 3070 as well, I think.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of these machines there. It does use some new technology. You know, one of the big things it may not be visually that much. It definitely, we have a new print head style that's in here. It's called a precision core. Without getting into all the nuts and bolts to it, what's really cool about it is, one, it's bigger, so it goes faster. But the second part is the print head becomes more self-aware. It knows when it's firing and when it misfired or something's blocking. There's a lint fiber over the nozzle to it. And with that, the printer can do a lot of corrective action, so that even if you have some nozzles out, that printer, or, you know, so like a fiber is covering part of the head, the printer can compensate for that in real time. So you still have a good print that you could sell. And by doing that, you know, this is kind of goes to one of Epson's main initiatives is, if you do it right the first time, you don't have to do it again. And it cuts down on your waste, it cuts down on your time being spent. But also we do take it serious, and I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything like that at all, but we don't want to have a whole bunch of scrap that just ends up in a landfill. So a big focus is on, how do you do it more sustainable? How do you do this more efficiently? At the end of the day, it all helps your bottom line. If you do it right the first time, you're not spending nearly fast printers that produce a lot of garbage. You got to redo them. It is not a very productive way to do something. Having a printer that maybe it's not the fastest, but it does it right the first time each time, is a very efficient way to do something. So that's kind of there's a ton of new features, and I got to be honest, one of the best things to see about the 2270, not to, you know, to my
no, go for it. We want to hear this.
See the printer. That's all I could say is, you know, Print United, you know, which is just right around the corner. Man, we're going to be showing all sorts of good stuff. Come see it. Sometimes it's the best way to do it. It's, you know, words are words, but see it in action. It's the best way to see it, best way to experience it, and, you know, see what those features are.
Well, we were super thrilled to have the trip over. Almost in terms of technology, Terry, it might have been the trip of a lifetime, quite honestly, to see everything that was in the I call it the Epson campus because it was giant, and we got to see way more than printers, and it was awesome. I can't wait to go back. But sorry, I had to get that little plug in because it was a lot of fun. The reality too, Tim, is that the technology is moving forward, that you guys do have your fingers on the pulse of maybe what's next. And I don't want you to reveal any secrets, but if you were to look around, this is a Marshall Atkinson question, by the way. If you had to look around the corner, could you tell us, 20 years from now, maybe not that far, 10 years from now, what would you predict in this technology, knowing what you know now and what you can share? What do you think's coming down the road, my friend?
It's was it fashion cycles goes through trends through about every 20 years, something like that, 20, 30 years. So going back, I think 20 years ago was aqua sky was the theme color of the year. I don't know. This year or this coming year, it's bay blue. So I guess in 20 years, it's probably going to still be some sort of blue color is going to be the theme that people are going to be running with. But as far as the technology goes in 20 years, I mean, there's a lot of things that pop up that not everybody knows, but there's the one thing that, regardless of any technology that comes out and everybody's like, this is going to change the world and screen printing's dead and this is going to be the thing. None of the technologies are going away. I think what you'll find is there's more tools available to the garment decorators that give them the best option to do it the most efficiently, the most cost effectively, but also do it the most creatively, how they want to do it. They'll have more tool sets to be able to do things. Where Epson's going, a lot of our product design is truly based on customer feedback, but there's also, without going on to too much of the design principles, there is one core design principle that they have that the company likes to use, and I don't know how to actually spell it, but it's pronounced shoshosei. It's this Japanese phrase, but it really means everything is just how do you make it very compact, efficient, and really precise. Take what you got, distill it down, and make it more concentrated, more powerful, but without taking up a massive amount of resources to do it. Make it easier to use. This is the design principle that we've been following, and we've been putting that into work. The 2270 that we now have is the beginning of some of these design principles where it takes up space, but how do you make that space usable? So it's not just a printer that you can't use that space. The printer's there, but you could still use everything around it. There's more to this, but where we see things going, I think, there's two things I'm going to just kind of wrap it up with this on this. We really want to hear what customers have to say. It's always good to get that feedback. How do we make life better? Whether it's DTG, DT film, something else in the future, who knows? But the part is we're vested in this. We plan on being here. And what Epson does is we're able to take things and consolidate down, really distill it down, become more potent, more powerful. So it gives designers the right things to do. And my last part is, come see us at Print United. Come see the booth because,
see all the toys.
We have something to talk about there. Not only do we have the coolest products, the newest products that just started shipping, we may even have some nod toward the future.
I love it.
It's always good to come see us and, come to the show. It's a good time. And I know you guys are going to be having an awesome time there. I'll be bouncing all around show floor. Come see us. And we'd love to hear the feedback, and maybe we'll be able to see a little bit about what's to come.
Love it.
Yes,
Tim Check. Listen, I'm a fan of Tim's. Anytime he speaks, I grab my notebook and I take some notes. By the way, I this is a DTF. I just want everybody to know, direct to film. But this is how you spell it, Tim. It's right here.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Shoshosei.
That's how I write it. I don't know if it translates well.
It translates for me, and that's all that matters right now. Is that I understand.
I've written in Mandarin here. No,
it's Japanese, my friend. Don't go there.
That's true. Okay. It's Japanese.
Tim, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We can't wait to connect in Atlanta and wherever again as the road will take us. Be safe until we talk again. Feedback, we always love it. We appreciate you and the rest of the team. We know Paul's back there and others that are cheering you on. So it does take a village, especially in my case. But thanks for joining us. It's been fun. We can't wait to see the future.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Do the
Thanks,
best.
Tim. We will see you in Atlanta.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's fun. People are talking about faster printers or printers that don't need a pre-treatment based on ink chemistry. And who knows, man, someone's going to crack that code at some point, or some new version of white ink, or additional inks. Maybe we'll get orange and green and neon, and right. They're available in other ways. Why not the DTG printer? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure those things out, but it's always fun to.
It also sounded to me like there's going to be something new in the Epson booth that everybody needs to stop by and see.
I kind of think, yeah, I kind of think that that was a hint, and
that was a heavy-handed hint.
Tim doesn't normally promote come by the booth that often, so obviously there's going to be something fun there. Can't wait to see it. And so yeah, that's going to be a big deal. And there's a lot of us, most of us that are on this webinar here today. Will all, in fact, I think every one of us will be there. So maybe we should have a reunion and a little cheers moment. But if you're ready, Terry, we're ready to bring up our next guest to the stage.
Right.
The mic is on and open for our friend Marshall Atkinson. Marshall, are you with us still, or did you get lost in the chat? I think he is ready for. There he is.
Here. I had to click the buttons.
I'm so glad
awesome.
you're here, my
Marshall.
friend. Welcome. Terry, thank you. Welcome. We're thrilled you're here. Marshall, tell us a little bit give us the 30-second intro of who Marshall Atkinson is.
Oh, well, I'm an industry consultant, been here in the industry doing stuff since '93. And so I co-own Shirt Lab with my buddies Tom and Allie. And Jay has spoken at several of our events, and also do a lot of education. So I've got a podcast called Success Stories. I got 2 YouTube shows, and I speak at all the ISS shows, usually teaching some classes. So you can see me in a lot of places, to put it that way.
A lot of places. I wasn't going to say too many places, Marshall. I don't know if that's possible, but.
And easy to see. Marshall's very tall.
Yeah,
that is true.
It's
Marshall.
funny. The most often cited phrase when I go and meet people at a trade show is, "Wow, you're a lot bigger than you are on your computer." So
I don't get that.
And sat in the back seat of
I'm
my
6'5", and you're what, like 5'10"?
Oh, thank you for being generous. I'll take 5'10". You got it.
And Marshall, you had to sit in the back seat of my Honda Accord all the way from Phoenix to Palm Springs once.
Yeah, so you got two of the largest people in the industry in your back seat.
Eric Campbell was back there as well.
Don't get these guys started. See what happens. I'm here. We'll
be 2 hours in then. So Marshall, how do you think digital printing has impacted production?
Well, I was listening to some of the other speakers. It reminded me of the early days of screen printing when everybody was snubbing their nose up at it, right? And I think, and we still have this today, especially with DTF. And you see these comments all the time about, what do you think about DTF? And the people that are screen printers, right, say it all sucks and doesn't work and da-da-da. And what I'll tell you is the people who see things through that lens always compare to screen printing. And of course, it's always going to be different. It feels different. It looks different. The colors are different, all that kind of stuff. It's not screen printing. Yes. Okay. But what I'll tell you is it has its place in the industry, and where it's really made the most impact is what I call defending the auto. So for screen printers out there, they're interested in making more revenue with their equipment. When that auto is churning at 400 an hour or whatever you're running your press at, that's what you want it to do. And you want it to do that more during the day. So if you take these smaller orders and you run them DTF or DTG, right? And what's happening now is you're making the maximum amount of profit with your auto, but you're also making profit with your DTG or DTF systems, because you no longer have to burn all those screens. You no longer have to do registration, you do anything. And by the time, often with these little bitty orders, let's say it's a 24 or 30 piece order, by the time you're done printing that with the digital application, for a screen printer, they're sure monkeying around in the screen room. So
Right.
not only are we making more money, but we're actually getting that job out faster, which pleases our customers. And I think if people just took the screen printing glasses off for a minute and put the entrepreneurial glasses on, the profit-making glasses on, what they realize is this is can be a better application if used properly and scheduled the correct way.
100%. The say it ain't so glasses from the first years of DTG.
Well, you know, and everything, let me tell you, there are crappy screen printers and there are crappy DTG printers. There's people who follow processes and there's people they don't, right? And so there's always going to be people who really do a great job. And some of your other guests were talking about how they've been to shops where their, 6-year-old DTG press looks like it just came out of the box because they're taking care of it. Those are the process-oriented people who are really always going to be killing everybody because that's just who they are. They're the A-team, right? Then there's people who, no matter what they do, it's like Pigpen from Peanuts, right? There's just this clod of crap everywhere, and they're always a mess, and they're always late, and nothing ever works, and and they constantly have problems. And that's not who is making any money.
I love it. I love it. So a couple of things for those younger folks who've tuned in. Pigpen from Peanuts is a character from a comic strip in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Okay.
And
myself, right?
And you will be you are just a little bit. And I do want other stuff. You will be Marshall's best friend if you're a process person. Trust me.
Yes.
And I love what you said in the chat. I'm going to read what you said. If you don't schedule your preventative maintenance, the machine will schedule it for you. Yeah. Brilliant. That's true across the board. Love it. So I had to give you a shout out for that. Marshall, I also want to give you a shout out because your passion for this. I love it. I feed on the energy as most people do. And when I get to surround myself with Matt Rome and Tim Check and Terry Combs and Harry Oster and Marshall Atkinson, you guys are still here for a reason. We're all still here for a reason. It's more than the paycheck. Sure, we want a bigger paycheck. Who doesn't? But we're all here on the island of misfit toys, as I often say. And I feel like we have a seat and we belong, if you know what I mean. So,
well, here's the thing is technology is always going to evolve. We're going to have different equipment, different consumables, different fabrics that we have to print on. We're going to have different ways that our customers are ordering. And you can't be stuck a decade ago and think that you're going to compete now because there's too many ways that things have changed. And you need to be keeping up and trying things and doing things and really listen to the industry and the peers, what they do. I think one of the things, if you haven't been to a trade show, I know just by talking with tons of folks that most people go to a trade show maybe once every 3 to 5 years, okay? 5 years ago was before COVID, right? What do you think has changed since then? Maybe you should go to a trade show. Maybe you should go to
maybe everything. Maybe the answer is everything's changed.
And see what's really happening. And because I think a lot of folks have it in their brain that this is the way it has to be, whatever that is, right? Mm-hmm. And by talking with people and taking a taste test and looking at stuff and talking with the folks at a booth or other colleagues in the industry about, hey, how did you solve that problem? Mm-hmm. You'll find these things out and you realize, gosh, I really am behind the times. Maybe I should evolve from being a caveman.
Yeah, love that. Maybe.
Jay, permission to give a Big Bang Theory reference?
Yes, granted.
Sheldon says to Penny, how do you know these things? She says, I go outside. I talk to people.
Yeah, right. Yeah. and here's the fun part. Like, I think a lot of us on this panel, we go to all the trade shows. I was just in Fort Worth, right? And we talk to tons of people. And what I'll tell you is a lot of people, even though they're at these shows, they're just now discovering stuff that we've known for a couple of years. And it's because they're there now being inquisitive and being curious and stuff. This is why you have to get out of your office. You have to get up out of your chair and venture out and do stuff, right? That's because that's how you learn.
I love it. It is how you learn. Well, Marshall, I know that you and Terry share something else in common, not just, I'll leave that there. I know that you share several things in common. And one of them is you're both production guys. You've both been around a lot of production. You've run production for large operations. And so I'd love to get your take on kind of the shift that you've seen in the last 10 years and 5 years into today. Like production units seem to be going down. Not that, not necessarily that total volume's going down, but the orders are changing. Can you speak to that? And how does that relate to DTG printing?
So here's what's happening. Okay. So you can thank your fast food drive-through. You can thank Amazon. You can thank other companies that have really reduced the need for speed because people are not patient. Nobody wants to wait 10 days for their order. We want it now. And so if you also think about what happened with COVID, you think about how markets have changed. You think about how Shopify has really evolved. How many businesses have evolved from Shopify where they got, I'm going to create some cool t-shirts and we're going to get somebody else to print them. Of course, they're printed digitally most of the time, right? And so, and that's like, you know what? Those stores are doing great. I need to bring in my production. So what's really happening is we're getting closer to the unit of one. We're at the unit of one now where it's all print on demand, right? And what's happening more than anything is we used to order 500 pieces or 1,000 pieces, and we would produce that stuff, and it would go to a distribution center. Remember the DCs, right? It would go to a distribution center, and then that's how the stuff would go out. Now people are ordering online. Somebody's getting that order, they're producing a shirt, and they're shipping it oftentimes the same day it's ordered. This is the new business model, right? How are we competing with that? We're doing that with DTF. We're doing that with DTG. In some cases, single head embroidery, right? But everything is happening at the speed of now. And speed is value. And if you're faster than everybody else, a lot of times you can charge more because you'll get it there sooner because let's face it, we're Americans and we're impatient. You know, the reason why I like Amazon is because I can order something and this afternoon it's on my front porch, right? I'm not going to a store. Oh man, that's just the old way, right? I'm going to do it now. So if you can compete with that and you've got that built, you are going to win. The printing technology that you guys sell allows that to happen. Okay. So that's why you should be talking with these guys and figuring out how you're going to do it and how you're going to compete. And another thing that I want to say about this is that you no longer have to just mark things up as a percentage. Like you hear, I'm going to mark it up and it's going to be 50% or whatever. You can compete on value and sell on value, which is the price that the market would bear. So for example, your DTF transfer might only cost you a couple cents. You don't want to mark that up. Instead of maybe it costs you 6 cents to make, and you're going to mark it up 12 cents and think you're going to make lots of money.
But I doubled. I did
mark it up $10, man, and make all of that profit. Okay.
Don't get him started, Terry. See what happens.
But you're right, Marshall. I mean, you know, in the past, a lot of our pricing was based on what's the competition pricing for and this and that.
Well,
that's so far down the list now, you know?
Okay. Here's the problem with that, Terry, is what's the competition charging? Well, what if those guys are morons?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. What if they're about to go out of business because they're not making any profit? Oh, I'll just be 5% under them. Okay. You should charge your value and what you bring to the table and why people love you. That's the reason why you're going to be more profitable and be in business. How about if you were to create something with such amazing value that you're the highest price guy in the market and everybody's wondering, gosh, how is that guy do it? That's the goal, not to compete at the bottom. Who wants to do that?
There
No.
are $200 t-shirts out there that people are buying every day. So
Oh yeah, exactly. And just think about, how that happens and what you do. And I think so many people in this industry get into it and think, well, gosh, the only people I can sell to are schools and rock bands and churches, right? Do you think that those are the only people who order t-shirts?
Well, Marshall, you've heard this 1,000 times because I've heard it as well. In my town, you can't charge more than $8 for a t-shirt.
Okay.
And my response is always, you're talking to the wrong people in your town, because there are people right now buying off of Amazon for $30 for that same shirt. So
yeah. Okay. Also, why are you selling to your town? Did you know with the internet, the world is flat? You don't have to sell to your town. You live in, wherever in the middle of nowhere. Right. Okay. Guess what? Your customer can be in New York City and they'll buy from you. It doesn't matter where you live anymore.
Right. Well, Jay, I heard Marshall say something about flat Earth, so I'm going to move on. Just kidding.
No, just because you don't want to make a dad joke out of that, I know. So
probably will. But so you've been watching this as long as I've been watching it. What's impressed you most over the years with the concept of DTG printing?
Well, to me, I'm an artist first. That's how I got in the industry. Okay.
Right.
So with spot color screen printing, right? Oh, it's 4 colors, right? You know what? I want all the crayons. I don't want to just have 4. That's so limiting. I want all the colors. How come I can't use all the colors? So for a digital application, you have unlimited colors. Okay. And that's what makes it a lot of fun, is because you can do anything. You can put little bitty crazy textures in there, or you can do some blends, or you can do, why do, Johnson 12 just in white when you can have like cool little textures in that image that's going on that shirt that really makes it look a lot better. And you can make fake embroidery. You could put a pattern in there. You could do all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's that whatever you can design, you can print. That's a digital application at its best. And then, of course, if we couple it with the modern way of designing, which is, my favorite new topic, Midjourney, right? And also coupled with Photoshop and some other things, you can be doing some artwork that nobody can touch because of the amazing and blazing speed that offers.
Love it. Let's talk about that since you brought it up. Not surprised. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think artwork and graphics are in this process of digital printing?
Okay, raise your hand if you're Sanma or S&S, because they're the only ones selling blank inventory. Everybody else has to put a decoration on it. So the better art you have, the more shirts you're going to sell. So what on a scale of 1 to 10, the factor of art, I'd say it's about an 18.
I knew you were going to go above it. I knew it. I told Terry he's going to say 12. Then Terry's like, no, he's going to go higher.
Yeah. So it's the most important thing. If you've got crappy art, you're not selling anything. You got artwork that people go, holy crap, I got to have it. It doesn't matter what you're charging. They're buying it.
Love that. Exactly. It's true. So, okay, without going too far down into the deep end of the Midjourney pool, what the hell is Midjourney? Give me 30 seconds on Midjourney.
Midjourney is a really easy way to iterate and create based on word prompts. And you can take anything that you want. And if you know the right prompts, you can get some really amazing images out of that, which, of course, you can create logos and artwork and whatever, but it allows you to create really quickly a whole bunch of different ideas. And then you can take those ideas and do something with it. And a metaphor that I use all the time with it is, it's like you imagine a football kickoff. Okay. So the ball's in the air and you receive it in your own end zone and you run it all the way back to the 7-yard line. That's a pretty amazing play, right? But guess what? You didn't score yet. Right? You still have to do a couple things to get in the end zone and score. So Midjourney allows you to get the work almost done. You still are going to have to add some type. You're going to make it work for the file. You're going to have to be doing some things to it. It's not exactly perfect. You might have to mess around with it a little bit, but you can make some amazing things that before AI came out would have taken you 5 or 6 hours or more to create. Now it's, 15 or 20 minutes of work and you're done. That's what's the most incredible thing.
Midjourney. And you wouldn't happen to have a newsletter for that, would you?
Yeah, I would. Just go to midjourneyexperience.com. Thanks for the plug.
Awesome. Hey, Marshall, before we let you get out of here, I want to ask you the same question that Jay asked Tim Check. If you could look into the future of DTG Technology 20 years down the road, what do you expect? What are you going to predict for us?
Well, we're already headed in this direction, but what you're going to see is more automation, right? So what we really want, we're still going to be selling online or some version of online. So I want to be able to hooking that up with some artificial intelligence. So can you imagine the day where I want a design of XYZ or whatever it is, it's automatically generated on the website based on a voice text. We're no longer going to be typing things in. You're just going to say, hey, I want a t-shirt with a zebra riding a motorcycle. And then it's going to be automatically designed for you. It's going to be printed for you. And it's going to be shipped to you. And it's all going to be handled without really any human involvement at all. It's all going to be involved with automation from where you order to how you ship it, all completely without lots of people involved. And we're already heading in that direction with a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff going on with voice to text. And I recommend you guys start looking into that. But it's how we're going to be doing things is really going to be really awesome. You could order from your phone right now, right? We always do things with our phone. A lot of stuff's going to be all about how we can do things easier in a seamless way. So I would be keeping up with this technology is going to allow you to compete. That's my prediction.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Brilliant prediction. And yes, I want that shirt. Zebra riding a motorcycle. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend. Marshall, we will see you soon. We will see you in Atlanta. Cheers. It's fun that you're here in Arizona and it's time for tacos. So don't forget, my friends.
Yeah. How come everybody in this panel is not from Arizona? What's up with that?
Well, several of us are. That's true, but that's okay. Marshall, take care until we see you soon in Atlanta or sooner for tacos. Either way, my friend, love what you guys are doing with Shirt Lab. So shout out there. Equipment Zone is a sponsor. We wholeheartedly love the community. Yeah. It's fun. That passion, multiply that times about 100 really smart people, and those events are a blast. So
yeah, we may have a Shirt Lab breakfast or something in Atlanta at Printing United. We're trying to figure out a day and where right now, just as a meetup.
Yeah, so sounds like fun.
Yeah, so
keep me posted.
See you, everyone.
All right, take care, Marshall.
See you soon.
Yeah, he just needs, like me, when I get started, we just got to bring the passion, I wish we could just get him back up to like a 10 because it's so hard to listen to him drone on.
Awesome.
Just the opposite. I love Marshall's passion. All of our guests so far have been bringing the fire, so it's been fun. And our next guest is not going to be any different, I know, because you two are like peas in a pod. We got blue cheese Combs and we got ranch Montgomery about ready to take the stage. If I'm not mistaken, Aaron Montgomery is here. Aaron,
I'm here. I made it.
You
I heard
did
it was
it.
a paycheck.
I'm
kidding.
I mean, yeah, you'll have to see Terry about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch to being interviewed instead of being an interviewer.
Yeah, you got to change your hat there, Terry.
Aaron, we're thrilled that you could take some time away from your busy schedule as well to join us today. It's awesome to have you here. It's fun because you were like many of these folks. You were in those early days. I look to you as one of those pioneers and one of those leaders of the technology because you worked for the company and you and Terry have known each other forever. But tell us before we get into that, Terry, give us a little intro. Who are you? What are you doing? What's your story?
Yeah. So my name's Aaron Montgomery. I'm co-host of the Two Regular Guys podcast with Mr. Terry Combs there. And but my business is called Our Success Group. And I basically have a pretty simple mission. I just want to help people, inspire them really to build a business that they love. I talk a lot about fundamentals, foundation, business planning, all of the cool things that you guys have been talking about across here, right? It's one thing to print a great shirt, but it's another thing to have a business that, you know, doesn't steal all of your time and make you somebody that just has a really low paying job.
We've all met those folks. I think I was one of those folks for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure we've
yes,
all probably been those folks for sure. Yeah.
You don't want to be that cranky guy or gal. You want to listen to some of Aaron's wisdom from our success group, and or tune into these two knuckleheads, my friends, Terry Combs and Aaron Montgomery, with the most popular and the largest and the longest podcast in the apparel decoration industry. Is that true?
That is true.
That's
516 episodes tomorrow.
516? Awesome.
No, 517 tomorrow. Sorry. 516 was in Fort Worth.
You lose track. You lose track.
Mean,
we've been doing the podcast together for 10 years every Friday for at 11 o'clock Eastern time. And it's the number 2, regularguys.com. And we talk garment decorating, we talk management, we talk about all kinds of things on the show. And chances are we've covered every subject, and we're going around for round 2.
Why not? Everything's changed from the last time
right.
you guys, right? That's crazy.
We have all the pre-COVID information and the post-COVID information. So.
Right. We're in the post-COVID era of 2 regular guys.
Yes.
I think that's awesome. Well, Aaron, I want to, well, first of all, I get to ask all the questions now because I'm asking you two as a team from for a team in both ways. You were both at US Screen Print and Inkjet Technology in the early days.
Yep.
A lot of folks don't know, Aaron, that you were also one of these orange-loving, grapefruit-loving desert dwellers of Arizona and the Southwest.
That's right. I still hate sweating.
What are you going to do? It gets hot in the summer.
Well, here I sweat all the time. There it was 120. You never sweat. It was great.
Yeah. I know people don't believe us when we tell them. They're like, yeah, but it's like 120. I know. Just come on down. You'll see. Anyway, we no more dry heat jokes. But the fact of the matter is that you're also remained friends and you started the podcast.
Yep.
You spent a lot of time in bars that you probably wish you didn't. Maybe not.
Those were. I thought it was the library. I thought there was books there.
Oh, nice. Well played.
Okay.
But I want to start with you, Aaron, because you're really the special guest. We know Terry the talent, but he's always here. So tell us, give us a little insight. First of all, of everything you've heard so far today, is there anything that jumped out and you were like, whoa, that's cool, or wow, you had a wow moment or aha moment? I'm just curious if the content from today, because you're listening to this, you've been here for a while, but what caught your eye, what caught your ear?
I mean, I think for me, it's just kind of the love of where things are headed, right? To me, it's when we can find a way to go, okay, let's look for solutions. Let's not worry about, kind of talking down to people. Like what's the future look like? So I think that's been kind of the most fun to me. Like I used to be able to find out what the inside scoop was. Now I've got to actually show up in the booth and see for myself, right? Till I pull Terry aside and say, okay, Terry, tell me what's actually going on here. But no, I think just the fact that we're, however many, I started to do the math and then I just got really depressed about how long it's been. But
think how Terry feels. I mean, come on.
Exactly. That's what keeps me coming back, right? As long as I'm still, but no, the reality is that innovation has been the name of this game the whole time. Sometimes it's been painful. Sometimes it's been exciting. Sometimes, it's kind of, and so to kind of see where everybody's at and where it's evolving and how much people are putting into it, how DTF is evolving the digital game as well. And all of that. I think that's what really stands out to me is just the excitement around, I can have an idea, now with like what Marshall was talking about, right? I don't even have to be able to draw it anymore. I can have an idea, tell some computer what it is. And next thing I know, I've got a t-shirt, right? So that's definitely where we're heading for sure.
Yeah, it's been exciting. I love what you said there, Aaron. Let me build on that just a minute. It's been really eye-opening for me from every guest, from start to finish, from Matt, Harry, Tim, Marshall, you, Terry, and I. We feel this way. It's like, yes, those were some, like you said, there were some painful moments, but everyone's excited about the innovation. Everyone's still excited about what's coming because they've seen it. Like I've had side conversations with Marshall who's like, I was there when Photoshop first came out. Yeah. Now he's not dropping that to say, here, listen to me, I'm an old guy, I'm an old white guy. He's saying he was so excited to see that tool drop then That's
Yeah.
why he's so jacked up now with Midjourney, because he's kind of reliving that moment. And in this time, he has the wisdom to be able to build on it and not just kind of, fart around with it. Forgive my expression. But anyway, so you guys are part of that exciting combination. First to Terry. Terry, were you hired before Aaron, or Aaron, were you hired before Terry at the Institute?
Yeah, make sure we get this really clear, by the way. Go ahead, Terry.
Interesting story. Yeah, Aaron was already there. Bill Strange. Aaron was the sales manager when I ran into Scott Fresner in the airport in St. Louis, and he said, "Hey, what do you think about moving to Phoenix?" And I said, "Well, I've never been there, but okay." And so I came in as a sales rep / helping with the screen printing classes, and before long, I was doing the screen printing classes, just me, and for several years. So that was 2002, I think, is when I came to Phoenix from Kansas City, and so that's when Aaron and I met, and he discovered that Terry's a nice guy, but he doesn't play well with others. So he was being Terry's boss is not a pleasant thing.
Well, the reality is nobody's actually Terry's boss. You can only hope to just contain him a little bit. So
I'm sure Harry has felt the same way.
yeah, I'm sure of it. There were many times where being Terry's boss meant I had to go explain his actions.
Yes, Pat Fresner
for him that he never ever listened to.
Pat Fresner would cover the loudspeaker. Aaron, please come to my office. Aaron, please come to my office. And he would come over to me. He goes, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I just emailed a question to her. That's all I did."
He was instructed to send me the question first. So anyhow, it was a heck of a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, you guys are killing me. So Aaron, just for the record, you were there first, and Terry came in later, and so those were some great early days, Dtg Days, as it was developing. You had some experience, obviously, with screen printing and direct-to-garment printing. So amazing if you think and you look back now, right, that you guys didn't kill each other. You had a tremendous amount of fun. You worked really hard. You traveled literally the world, right? I mean, where was Aaron, what's one of the remote places, crazy, out of this country that you traveled to on behalf of DTG Decorating Technology?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, definitely all over Europe. I think probably the most remote was a place up in Sweden that once I got there, I was already kind of blurry because of the long flights and all that other stuff. Then I get on a train, and then I'm in a car, and I think it felt like 3 days later, I was finally there in this little town in the middle of nowhere. I don't even remember what it was, but the cool part was little town in the middle of nowhere. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to do a vendor event. We're going to have our customers come in." I'm looking around going, "There's not going to be more than 4 people here. I don't think there's more than 4 people in this town." And next day, wake up, go there. Place is packed. There was hundreds of people there, all to check out this new direct-to-garment technology and what this cool shiny toy was. I was very impressed. So Sweden, big shout out there.
What about you, Terry? Did you get to go any place crazy, remote, different?
Multiple trips to Germany, and I will say, and Munich was super cool. Probably the most fun was in Berlin. But I did get to spend quite a few hours in the airport in London because my travel mate Aaron left his phone on the plane, and so we had to wait for them to get it off. And by the time they did, we'd missed our flight home. So we did walk out of security and out of the airport and turn around and walk back in. So that we could get our passport stamped. And the question was, "How long have you been in London?" What's it been? 5 minutes? 5 minutes. I just like shaking his head, stamping our passports.
I knew I would get some stories like this. The shenanigans between you two. Oh my God. Don't get him started on Berlin. You know how many stories of Berlin I've heard, Aaron? Oh God.
Yeah,
Munich,
I thought we weren't supposed
Berlin.
to share those stories.
Nope,
I'm
you're
sorry.
not. You signed a document with Pat Fresner that said you would not disclose the information though too.
Yeah, that's right.
That is
But
hilarious.
Jay, we hadn't done the T-Jet yet. When I got there, we were still
Yes.
selling fast films and
Right,
separate
right.
software, things like that.
Well,
I remember the T-Jet because it didn't become T-Jet 1 until there was. It's like World War II. It wasn't World War I first. It was World War II and then World War I. But I remember Scott saying, "Okay, we got this thing running," and we went over and he was printing a white T-shirt. And I remember, I mean, as if it happened yesterday, I turned to Scott and said, "I think everything just changed in our industry." And he said, "I think so too." And it did. It was industry changing technology. And of course, I saw it as a screen printer thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a huge help to screen printers." And as I mentioned earlier in the show, screen printers like, "Oh, say it ain't so."
Yeah.
I spent 20 years learning to do this. Don't tell me you can push a button and do the exact same thing. But
Oh, I was one of those guys. I thought it wasn't fair. I still think it's not fair. But it's like, it's like, wait, because if you've never had the blessing and the curse of cutting amber lith or ruby lith and applying that to a screen, if you've never had that amazing, glorious moment in your life, I don't even know if you qualify to be on this, to be honest. This is amazing. But no, the truth is that you guys were there, and it isn't really fair that you can have this technology. But Aaron, you kind of touched on it. You said innovation, and you said, it's fun to have the panelists that are here. We're embracing this innovation. We're comfortable with not knowing all of the answers. But the reality is not everyone's like that. So what was it like for you when the first time you saw this technology?
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting part too, and I think you were maybe there at this point. This is like right when you first got there, because it wasn't that we were setting out to be part of this DTG revolution, right? To make a direct to garment printer. This was actually an evolution. So the space we were in was in the color separation space. That was the main product that we sold, obviously the screen printing classes. So we were screen print people that knew and loved screen printing, especially understanding how to print onto dark shirts. And so for us, it was an evolution, because actually the T-Jet evolved out of a machine that was supposed to print directly onto screens without film, getting rid of the film process. The Epson 3000 was kind of the big thing. And now the next evolution was, how do you do away with film altogether? And that particular machine also just happened to print these little really creepy toy doll things over in Asia, and just happened to run, that Scott just happened to run into that, and it's like, can we put a shirt in there, right? And that was the innovation, I think, was kind of just thinking differently. We're how do we continue to reduce the steps of this?
Yeah.
And it went from, okay, how do we get rid of the film, to, hold on a second, you can get rid of all of it and just put a shirt in there. That's kind of cool, right? So that was, I think, kind of what was the light bulb moment for me, because I'll be honest, I was not I didn't come to this as this big screen print guy. My foray into this world was with US Screen. When I started in 2000, I was selling printing, like your catalog that you would hand a business card. Right? That was what my experience was in the offset world. And so, to see people so passionate about shirts, and then I realized why, because, it's our connection, right? I get to show off who I am. This is a direct to garment printed shirt. And this is my company, and now I'm excited about it, that passion. So I guess, to long answer there, the innovation is just kind of, how do you keep moving things forward and thinking differently to solve problems?
No, it's a great answer. It's a great answer. I think there's so much to unpack there. I won't, though, because it's just great. I love the passion of the T-shirt. Obviously, somebody once said to me, he's like, well, what business are you in? He's like, I'm in the business of creating fans. I am a fan factory. And I was like, oh my God, that's good. I'm going to steal that, So, because if you think about it as an apparel decorator, almost everything we do is in the promotion, in the marketing vein. It's about branding. And so it's so fun because we get to carry that forward, just like the shirt you're wearing and the shirt that Terry and I are wearing. Although, there it is. Terry, you got to sit up, buddy, so we can see that. There it is. There's days, and I know Harry's still listening to this, where he's ready to let us go, and there's other days when we're high-fiving and cheering, and we all have those highs and lows. But it's what we represent, right? It's not just the technology, it's the company. And so I love that you brought that to light. Aaron, you're a bright guy. You've been there from the beginning. It's kind of scary, right? Some days when you think about how many years this has been. I mean,
Yep.
So what would you say? Would you say it was 2002? Is that when you remember the T-Jet kind of first rolling off the line, or what was it, Terry?
No, it would have been 4. I think
2004. Yeah.
2004.
Yeah, I'd been there for a couple of years before the first T-Jet.
So that was the show here in St. Louis, right? The SGIA show in St. Louis would have been 2004-ish.
Oh, I was thinking it was Minnesota.
Oh, you're exactly right. Yep, Minnesota. Yeah. And going back to talking about those screen, the printing directly under the screens, we went to that show, set up, most of everything was set up for that direct to screen product. I don't remember the name of it anymore. And that was kind of what the booth was set up for. And we just happened to kind of put the T-Jet back in the corner of like, oh, this is something that's coming. Because again, if you remember this, we were screen printers, and most screen printers didn't print a whole, I mean, you could print on a white shirt, absolutely, but that was not where color separations and all that stuff was. So for us, it was printing on dark colored garments.
Yeah.
And so since that machine at the time could only print on a white shirt, it was just as an afterthought in the corner. And the whole time, like, we had to kind of reconfigure the booth after the first day, because it just, everybody was over there, and,
everybody wanted to see it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, 2004, I think is probably
for commercially viable DTG printing. And so it was us, it was Brother, and there was, I believe Mamaki was there. I think it was Mamaki. Their machine was printing discharge ink instead of white ink. And of course, that destroyed print heads. So the US Screen T-Jet and Brother were the survivors after a couple of years there. So
yeah, I figured Matt might jump in and give us some reference here. Matt, what were you saying?
It was 2005.
It was all
at
right.
the Minnesota show.
Okay.
A show that nobody went to, that I like to say, because it was in Minnesota in October and the weather was perfect. So,
yeah, Mimaki
I was there. It was a great show.
Machine though before that. So Mimaki, believe it or not, after the revolution, the first machine that was really offered for sale was the Mimaki discharge machine, and it was at the ISS show down in Chicago.
Okay.
Out on Navy Pier.
Navy Pier, yeah.
Yeah. After that, then was the show at Minneapolis, and then you had Corneat and the Mastermind machine, I think is what y'all sold at US Screen.
Wow. There you go. There you have it. We weren't sure if it was 29 years ago or 19 years ago. And I think it depends on who you ask. If you ask Matt, he's going to put some years onto that. If you ask Terry or Aaron or others that were involved at the US Screen Print Institute, those guys, I like to call it just the Institute, because it makes you think of like an institution, and that's kind of,
Yeah. Well, 2005 was the big year that everybody came out. So everybody came out in 2005.
And Terry, were you guys, do you remember, and Aaron, jump in here too, if you think, when was it when you started like really playing with white ink? How did that happen? I'd love to get that story before we let you go. We're kind of running out of time, but I just wanted to get that back in here.
Yeah, it was about 2 years in, and DuPont and along with US Screen really did most of the developing. Those guys were in our facility and all the time, Aaron, as you recall, and trying to print with white ink, and of course, then we figured out, well, we have to put something on the shirt. We have to flash it in some way. So that's when pre-treat started to be played with. And Jay, I had told you before that we even experimented with screen printing pre-treat onto a shirt, so I'm printing through like a 305 mesh, trying to trying to thicken up the pre-treat enough to get it so it would get all the way to the top of the screen. And there was it was mad scientist days, Aaron, as you recall.
yeah, it definitely was. But it also took that investment in that large T-Jet Pro that to get there with DuPont. So
wow,
right,
yeah.
Amazing when you think about it. Yeah. So Terry, you were this close to having like Matt said earlier, having the true first hybrid technology of blending screen printing and inkjet printing together, if you think about it. So funny how we come full circle 25, 28, 29 years later, and you're seeing those two technologies come together, in a lot of very large presses.
Yeah, my response to that was the early experiments where it's like 1,000 attempts to make a light bulb and the last one works. Yeah, I didn't make 1,000 attempts, but it didn't work.
Persistence, Terry. Come on.
I spent a day or two trying.
I was going to say, Terry spent a few hours and he's like, yeah, I'm out. Hey, Wade, you want to play with this over here? We got
yeah, exactly. I said, hey, Terry, you play with that. I'm going to Zips to have some chicken wings. So
then I'd be like, hey, you're still there? I'm coming.
See, you too. That's how it started. For those of you listening and who are still here, thank you for listening to this long haul. This has been a lot of fun, and that probably is how you guys more or less got started, was doing the chicken wing thing and hanging out. But you know what? Those conversations remind me of this conversation, and I'm so glad I had it, because it's moments like this that we can not only refresh some of our memories of that time, and there were a lot of great times, and it's so we're lucky to still be here. We're lucky to, as time moves forward, some of those bad memories dull and the better memories kind of rise to the surface. But to be able to do it with people like Matt Rome and Harry Oster and Aaron Montgomery and Marshall Atkinson, I mean, I just got to say, this has been so much fun for me and so rewarding. So for those of you that hung in and listened to this whole thing, guess what? We've reached the end of the ride, but it's been a blast. And I want to share my screen one more time to thank everybody. To say, you really, those that tuned in, you were our special guests. Obviously, we got to see this lineup and hear from them. Aaron, thank you so much for being our last guest. I know you kind of had to, figure a few things out there, not technology wise, but just how to get here and join us. But it was a blast to have you. With the Two Regular Guys podcast show, it wouldn't be, I don't think our industry would be the same without it. Let's be frank and let's be real. Lots of other podcasts are out there now. You guys were breaking the podcast ground. I mean, before I even knew what a podcast was. I mean, right? That was like what, 9 years ago?
Before we knew what a podcast was. Yeah.
That is so cool. So Aaron, give a shout out to your podcast one more time so listeners can tune in and check you guys out every Friday.
Yeah, definitely. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time, we will be live once again over at 2regularguys.com. As Terry mentioned earlier, it's 2 regularguys.com. You can go over there. There's a button right at the top. If you're a Facebook person, you can watch it there. If you're a YouTube person, you can watch it there for the live. And then as far as the podcast goes, wherever you do your podcast listening, you will find 2 Regular Guys there. Just look for a microphone and a chicken wing, which has been our logo since Terry's son made that for us 10 years ago. So
exactly.
The cross, the microwave and the microwave, the microphone and the chicken wing. So
that's right.
It tells the whole story.
Yeah. And tomorrow morning we're talking, Terry and I are actually having a conversation about training and standard operating procedures. So maybe plays a little bit along into some of the things we're talking about here today.
Well, and to those that are listening live, yes, definitely tune in. If you're watching this later on down the life, because this is going to live on our YouTube channel, so you can still listen to them every Friday. I guarantee you, though, whenever you listen to this, set your calendar for the next Friday and tune in. But also, we want to see you if you're traveling soon. October 18th through the 20th is just around the corner. And truth be told, strategically, I wanted to have this before we went to Printing United so that we could kind of round up everybody and maybe get a photo there, because I'm pretty sure every single one of us is going to be there. So we look forward to seeing you in Atlanta at Printing United. And one of the cool things that just recently happened, thank you to our good friends at Printing United, is that they were able to help us see the vision. And by us, I mean Epson and Equipment Zone we're going to be involved in the apparel zone as well as our booths independently. So you'll really have 3 places to come see us. So buzz by Epson to see all the new toys, say hi to Tim, say hi to Matt, but also buzz by and see us over in booth C3365, 3365. Whatever Terry told you earlier might have been incorrect. I'm telling you the good stuff and the truth. 3365, and then the apparel zone is in C147. And so if you're going to be in Atlanta, you got to stop by and say hi to us. We will also have some new toys, and we will also all be there. You can come by and say hi and tell us what you thought, and share your story with us if you've got an early story. This right here, this event, what we did today, the DTG Days. Matt, thank you for giving us the idea of doing this again next year. I think this should be an annual where we can kind of compare notes maybe, and we can go back and, brush off the dust of some of the old stories, but we can also just talk about what's happened in the last year, because now that we've done one, we can go forward and say, well, what did we see last year that kind of got us excited? Anyway, my point is that this event, this webinar, even though it's almost 2 hours now, it's going to be here on our Equipment Zone YouTube channel. You can watch the whole thing, listen to the whole thing, and tune in there. And so with that being said, we have reached the end. And so I'm just going to go back to the very first slide. Look at that. Oh, we better stop here for just a moment so folks can see this one more time. Look at that. Look at this guy, man. The OG, the original gangster of DTG printing. Matt, who knew? Pulling that. Look, he's even got a wood frame, Terry. I didn't make fun of him, but look at that frame, that screen print frame.
That was the option then.
Well, no, they hadn't invented aluminum yet.
Exactly.
Well, aluminum had been invented, but maybe the screen had not yet been perfected. So I love it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great celebration today of a technology that has made an impact on all of our lives. So it's fitting that we end on a high note. So I'm just going to say cheers to everyone who tuned in. Thank you so much. To all of our guests and all of those that viewed and are going to listen in the future. That's it. That's it for today. I'm going to throw it back to you, Terry. Any words of wisdom before we say goodbye?
Well, just thanks for everybody tuning in. And I was giving away the code to get a free pass to the exhibit hall, which is 5412, and accidentally. And thanks for tuning in. And we will be back on here doing another webinar soon, and hope to see everybody in Atlanta next month.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Terry.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.